So, another Spongebob special. Okay, well, we have Surfers, the Hot Sun, and Johnny Depp. Sounds like a great time. But it's winter, it's cold. Well, at least it is in the UK. I recently got back from holiday. I enjoyed the hot sun and even ventured into the ocean myself. I didn't quite find Bikini Bottom though. I decided to watch some television episodes set during the blistering sun and got to rewatching this special, and I was actually surprised by how decent it was. So let's take a look at it in some more depth. Okay, so as I stated during the introduction to this video, this episode features Johnny Depp, which was such a marvel at the time. This episode premiered on Nickelodeon on April 17th, 2009, near enough a month away from the 10th anniversary of the show. Outside of the actual anniversary special, which featured several cameos from famous faces, what better way to celebrate the show than having the likes of Depp appear? Now, this was huge. I remember when this was first announced. There was so much hype, talk and discussion online and through various newspapers about this episode. One such article I found from Animation Magazine Online in 2009 stated, "Movie star Johnny Depp is helping wish SpongeBob SquarePants a happy 10th anniversary by appearing in SpongeBob vs. the Big One, an all-new special premiering on April 17th at 8 PM on Nickelodeon. The half-hour special, the first of several celebrating the anniversary, follows SpongeBob as he and his friends seek out surf legend Jack Kahuna Laguna to learn the latest moves and hit the elusive wave known only as the Big One." Depp plays Jack Kahuna Laguna, joining regular cast members Tom Kenny, Bill Fagerbakke, Roger Bumpus, and Clancy Brown. I did watch this premiere when it was released in the UK, and to be perfectly honest, I wasn't blown away by it at the time. It was an alright episode and all, it just didn't land for me back then. But it was around the time that I grew away from SpongeBob, which is why I think I wasn't the biggest fan. This rewatch has given me a greater appreciation though. So, I thought I would give a quick overview of the plot along with some of my thoughts before diving into more segmented character sections of the episode. So the plot opens in the Krusty Krab. It's absolutely roasting hot and there are no customers. I actually really like this as an opening set piece. A lot of the later episodes have a habit of filling the Krusty Krab or treating it like the make-all of hospitality in Bikini Bottom. It always feels much more grounded into reality when it is depicted like this, a lot like it was in the classic days of the show. Taking the characters and plot to the beach makes sense. It's a warm day, that's where the main populace of Bikini Bottom will be. All the while, it's a solid place for Mr. Krabs to set up camp and try to sell some Krabby Patties away from the restaurant. It's a plot location easily accessible to Sandy and Patrick without the need to overly explain why they're there. The only aspect of the scene which I wasn't overly fond of was Patrick causing problems. Look, they're at sea, there are people surfing. Of course a huge wave is going to knock them all into separate parts of the ocean. Patrick being stupid and causing issues was not needed, especially as he is pretty well written across the episode. Well, by season 6 standards anyway, so this little introduction is the only part which let him down. Once all the cast members are separated, the goal is essentially a journey back home. Well, for SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward and Sandy anyway. Mr. Krabs just sort of chills in the ocean with his cash register. He seems content enough with his money regardless of surroundings. SpongeBob and crew learn they will have to surf home in order to get back to Bikini Bottom. All pretty straightforward for a 20-minute plot, and on the whole, the runtime story and jokes are handled quite well in this episode, with a fun resolution amongst the waves. Now, I think I should talk about the 3 segmented journeys across the episode. So, I think the whole plot choice of getting trapped and needing to venture home is the strongest with these 3. More so than Mr. Krabs or Sandy, this is the central plot thread with the most going on. They come across a group of university dropouts who are living their best life at the beach surfing every day. These guys graciously attempt to teach SpongeBob, Patrick and Squidward to surf, which doesn't go well. SpongeBob and Patrick in typical goofy fashion can't seem to get their heads around it, while Squidward does not seem the least bit interested. As fun as this little segment is, it does sort of feel a bit like fluff. These guys are just a plot device to introduce Johnny Depp's character. Part of me thinks it would have been tighter if they skipped them and just came across Jack Kahuna Laguna. But I guess they do flesh the world outside of Bikini Bottom too, so there is that. I think the choice to make Jack Kahuna Laguna a kind of surf guru was a lot of fun, and the aesthetic of his persona relates to the plot well. I think on some fundamental level he really is teaching them. I kind of like the whole calmness, to be one with nature and you will surf type mentality, especially as it clashes with Squidward. He quickly challenges him.
Look, surf boy, are you gonna teach us how to surf, or are we just gonna stand here and stare at you all day?
I do wish we had a bit more conflict from Squidward here, as it was entertaining. JKL tells them the only way they will have access to Bikini Bottom again is to surf back on the big one. Alright, so all the marketing, and even the title to this episode, has depicted the big one as a huge force which needs to be conquered. A big wall of water separating the crew from their home. That's absolutely fine. In fact, I actually think it's very fun and favours the show's sense of surrealism perfectly. I just think they introduced this major plot obstacle way too late into the episode. They announced this daunting wave, and then a few minutes later, it's there. If it had been brought up from Twitch and the other dropouts, then it would have more legs to stand on. Or equally, they could have been like, you will need to wait until the big wave arrives and have the title be a meta joke about having a huge name attached. It becomes too much of a last minute addition to the story, and they humanise it. I mean, it has a title, it has a face, and it eats Johnny Depp. Overall, I think this is a perfectly good segment. That's my only sort of small issue with it. So, unlike the rest of the characters, Mr. Krabs doesn't become landlocked. He ends up floating in the sea, accompanied by his friend Kashi. He doesn't seem to be worried. I did find his carefree attitude at the situation a little unnerving, well at first anyway. I thought it would have been the perfect time to bring in some reference to his old Navy days, even if it was just some throwaway line. However, he does show some more life when he realises he is in the Dutchman's Triangle. I do wonder if everything here is meant to allude to him going a bit crazy, especially as part of this is meant to be a parody of the movie Castaway, with his cash register taking on the role of Wilson the Bull in the ocean. Now, if it was the intent that he's just a bit crazy being isolated at sea, then they should have fleshed it out more. I think the beard was meant to highlight the passing of time, but I think it needed more than that really to land. We, as the spectator, have seen him have history with the Dutchman. They have met each other on several occasions. He's even taken Mr. Krabs to Davy Jones' locker in the past, so I found it a bit weird that it wasn't referenced at all. Again, not a great deal happens here. They argue a bit, Mr. Krabs wrecked his food shop, so I can understand why the Dutchman was annoyed, but it was fairly stagnant, just a bit of waffle. I think the amusing dialogue saved the segment, and the incredible ending. I mean, having it literally be Davy Jones was amazing, even if it's a joke that most kids wouldn't understand.
Yeah, that's right, baby. Welcome to my locker.
This is objectively the most underutilized segment of the whole episode, so I'll cover it quickly, I think. She crash lands on a deserted island and is able to build a whole load of gadgets, a resort, and a helicopter as a means of escape. Look, this is fine, I guess. It all feels very true to her character, but what's the point? So for reference, this all goes nowhere. The most she does is get herself out of the situation. On this rewatch, I thought, okay, maybe she saves them. Or she has a device that will allow them to surf well and overcome the big one, but that just doesn't happen. She crash lands back at Bikini Bottom and begins the episode the exact same way as how she started it. Other than plot padding, there is absolutely no need for her to be here. Now, I would like to talk about Jack Kahuna Laguna's character for a bit as well. So, as a token surfer dude, I think the style of voice acting works very well. He is an all-knowing guru. His goal is to show Spongebob how to surf well. As a teacher, he seems to succeed at this. I do think, as he was such a big name, I was expecting a larger role, especially when I was younger. So part of my hype was killed by how little dialogue he actually has. But as I've just stated, I think the minimal approach fits this sort of character much better than if he was just super overbearing and went on 5-minute long rants about a surfboard or something. In terms of actual character journey, I do wish the plot gave us a little bit more. I think they easily could have cut the sandy scenes and had one long flashback of him getting stranded and attempting to surf. The humour could be how unaware he is at the beginning, surfing on a tree or trying to make a board out of sand or something. I think through this you could see a much more stressed or tense character mellow out and allow nature to be their guide. Not only would something like this flesh his character, but it would also parallel the plot. We do know from his dialogue that he loves surfing. It seems to be his life. He is in true serenity when he is crashing amongst the waves. I really wish he sacrificed himself saving Mr. Krabs or Squidward. As I said, I found him saving the cash register a bit dumb, even if he was happy to do it. Given that surfing on the big one seems to be his ambition in life, I also think had the wave finished him off for good, it would have been quite a nice character-given arc. In a way, it would have meant fulfilling his goals. They can surf home and he can experience the largest and most incredible wave ever and go out utterly content. Which for someone as down to earth and chill as JKL would make sense.
Just keep breathing.
I have found a few other reviews for this episode online. As usual, I will leave names and locations anonymous, but this is what they said. This episode is so good. The overall creepy yet still fun-loving feel of this episode, Johnny Depp's performance as JKL, Mr. Krabs and his Kashi, along with the other surfer dudes, is classic Spongebob humour, severely underappreciated. Very conflicted on this special. The story definitely has some epic moments and the atmosphere and tone of the episode is pretty spot on, but the story itself is very flawed and the pacing is pretty wonky in places. I feel like the special could have been one of the best if it was just more developed. I've been rewatching this episode lately, and I really like it. I enjoy the usage of much of the main cast here. The guest characters are fun, and I like the story a lot. And yeah, it has a dance party ending, which I actually really like those. Also, can we talk about the B line for the Tree Line song? It's really nice and calming. The episode is very rewatchable, which is one of the reasons why it earns a solid 9 out of 10 from me. I actually had a really good time with this episode. I found the use of setting and visuals to be very strong. The theme of a hot summer's day is carried strong via the ocean and surfers. Despite being a bit of a basic struggle to get home plot, and I think the cast members like Patrick and Squidward, who are often butchered at this point in the series, to be characterised very well. I would recommend this one to anyone who hasn't seen it. Well, that's what I thought anyway. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below. If you enjoyed this review and would like to stay up to date with my content, then please hit that like button and subscribe. It will help my channel continue to grow. I'm gonna head back into the ocean. I'll see you all very soon.